The daughter of the young billionaire disappeared from her room in 1996. 7 years later, he hears her old tape recorder and is shocked. In 1996, the late afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of the Collier mansion as Nathan straightened his tie for the third time. His fingers trembled slightly. 2 years. 2 long years since Rachel had passed away, taking with her the laughter that once echoed through the corridors of the house. "Daddy, you look nice like this." Lily appeared in the doorway, her light blue dress swaying as she spun around. 4 years old, pure energy, with golden curls that reminded everyone so much of her mother. Nathan smiled and bent down to be eye level with his daughter. "And you look beautiful, my flower." The sound of tires crunching on the gravel driveway made them both turn their heads. "She's here." Lily ran to the window, tiptoeing to reach the windowsill. Vanessa Blake emerged from her silver car as though she had stepped out of a magazine. Perfectly sleek black hair, a red dress that hugged her elegant silhouette, and that calculating smile that had captivated Nathan's attention 3 months earlier at a charity event. "Remember what we talked about?" Nathan smoothed a stray curl from Lily's forehead. "Be polite and give her a chance," the little girl recited, without taking her eyes off the woman now walking toward the front door. The doorbell rang and Nathan's heart pounded. This was no ordinary meeting. It was the first time Vanessa had come to the house since he had asked her to marry him. When he opened the door, her perfume filled the air before her words did. "Nathan, darling." Vanessa gave him a soft kiss, her dark eyes quickly surveying the foyer as if evaluating every detail. And then she saw Lily. "Twice, and you must be the famous Lily." Vanessa knelt down, smiling, a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Your father talks about you so much." Lily did not move, her tiny fingers clutching the hem of her dress. "Hi," she whispered, not stepping forward. Dinner proceeded in a fragile harmony. Vanessa spoke of trips to Paris, of the art gallery she managed, of the important people she knew. Nathan hung on every word, like a man starved of conversation, while Lily played with her food, watching. "Your house is wonderful, Nathan. So spacious." Vanessa commented, her eyes tracing the walls, the antiques, the expensive paintings. "It was Rachel who decorated it. She had a special talent for that," he replied, not noticing how Vanessa's smile froze for a moment. "I imagine some changes would be welcome, a more contemporary touch perhaps." Vanessa quickly regained her composure and placed her hand over Nathan's. Lily dropped her fork with a clatter. "Sorry," the little girl murmured as a maid rushed over to clear up. Later that night, after Vanessa had left with the promise to return the next day, Nathan found Lily still awake, clutching the teddy bear that Rachel had given her on her last birthday. "What's the matter, my flower? It's past bedtime." Lily bit her lip, hesitating. "Is Vanessa going to live with us?" Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, stroking his daughter's hair. "One day, yes. Does that make you sad?" The girl did not answer right away. "Mommy's not coming back, is she?" Nathan's heart clenched. "No, my love, Mommy is in heaven now." "And we can't go visit her?" "Not like that, but she's always watching over us." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Is Vanessa going to be my new mommy?" "She will never replace your mother, Lily, but she can be a friend, someone who takes care of you too. Would you like that?" The little girl shrugged uncertainly. 3 months later, the Collier mansion was filled with flowers and elegantly dressed guests. Nathan and Vanessa exchanged vows under an arch of white roses in the garden. Lily, dressed as a flower girl, held her basket of petals tightly, observing everything with her big, attentive eyes. When Vanessa tossed the bouquet, her friends laughed and applauded. No one noticed how her eyes gleamed as expensive gift boxes and generous checks from Nathan's wealthy guests were delivered to the entrance. Vanessa's move into the mansion happened in a single day. Moving trucks brought in modern furniture, abstract paintings, and a new atmosphere to the house. The room that had once belonged to Rachel was completely transformed. "We need to leave the past behind, darling," Vanessa explained, as the last remnants of Rachel were packed up and taken to the attic. Nathan agreed, although something in his chest protested silently. In the first few weeks, everything seemed perfect. Vanessa organized elegant dinners, redecorated charmed Nathan's friends. To the outside world, they were the ideal rebuilt family. But at night, when Lily woke from nightmares calling for her mother, Vanessa simply turned over and murmured, "Your father needs to teach you to be more independent." It was a Sunday afternoon while Nathan worked in his study that Lily burst in, her eyes red and filled with tears. "What is it, my flower?" He scooped her up into his arms, concerned. Lily looked toward the door, making sure they were alone. Then, in a whisper like a secret, she murmured, "Daddy, Vanessa doesn't like me. She acts different when you're not around." A chill ran down Nathan's spine, but he pushed it aside. It was just adjustment, the time needed to build bonds. "Jazz, of course she likes you, my flower. She's just adapting." He kissed his daughter's forehead, ignoring the instinct screaming inside him. "Everything will be okay, you'll see." Lily didn't answer. She simply clung to her father as though she feared he might disappear too. That night, watching Vanessa apply her expensive creams in front of the mirror, Nathan tried to bring up the subject. "Lily seems a bit insecure around you." Vanessa didn't take her eyes off her reflection. "Children are dramatic, darling. She just wants your undivided attention. Maybe we could spend more time together, the three of us." "Of course." Vanessa's smile was too perfect. "A little happy family, isn't that what everyone wants?" Nathan smiled, relieved. He was worrying over nothing. Everything would fall into place with time. He didn't notice the cold look Vanessa gave Lily's photograph on the bedside table as she turned off the light. Morning light streamed through the kitchen windows as Nathan adjusted his tie, checking his watch for the third time. "It's going to be a busy day," he commented, grabbing his briefcase from the counter. "But I'll be back for lunch." Lily, sitting at the table eating breakfast, looked up hopefully. "Promise?" "I promise, my flower." Nathan smiled, kissing the top of her head. "Maybe we can go to the park afterward." Vanessa entered the kitchen, impeccably dressed as always. "Don't be late for your meeting with the investors," she reminded, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "I won't." Nathan kissed his wife quickly. "Take good care of our girl." As always, Vanessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. As soon as the sound of Nathan's car driving away faded, Vanessa's expression changed. The artificial smile gave way to a thin, hard line. "Finish your breakfast and go to your room," she ordered Lily without looking at her directly. Lily lowered her head. "But Daddy said he'd be back for lunch." "Your father says a lot of things." Vanessa slammed her coffee cup onto the counter with unnecessary force. "Today you stay in your room, and if you tell him anything, you'll regret it." But..." "There's no buts." Vanessa's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Do as I say, now." Lily obeyed, climbing the stairs in silence. In her room, she sat on her bed, hugging her pink tape recorder, the last gift her mother had given her before she died. Hours later, she heard the phone ring. Vanessa's voice, soft again, drifted through the hallway. "Of course I understand, dear." "No, it's no problem at all. Lily will be disappointed, but I'll explain to her." "Yes, see you later." Footsteps approached Lily's door. The door opened and Vanessa appeared. "Your father isn't coming for lunch," she announced, a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. "Probably not for dinner either. Important meetings, you know." Lily didn't answer, only hugged her tape recorder tighter. "What do you have there?" Vanessa stepped closer, noticing the object. "Ah, that old thing your mother gave you." "It's not old," Lily protested quietly. "Mom gave it to me." Vanessa's expression hardened. "Your mother is dead, and the sooner you forget about her, the better for everyone." Lily felt tears well up but said nothing. She'd learned that crying only made Vanessa angrier. "Your lunch will be served here. Don't leave this room." Vanessa walked to the door, pausing only to add, "And remember what I said. One word to your father, and you'll regret it." The day dragged slowly. Lily drew, read her books, and played quietly with her dolls. The maid brought her lunch and later a snack without speaking, simply leaving the tray and leaving. It was evening when she heard her father's car arrive. Quickly, she put away her toys and grabbed a book, pretending to read. Shortly after, soft knocks on the door announced Nathan's arrival. "Hey, my flower." He entered, still in his work clothes, exhaustion evident on his face. "Sorry I didn't come for lunch. It was a complicated day." "It's okay," Lily murmured without looking up from her book. Nathan sat beside her on the bed. "Are you okay? You look sad." Lily hesitated. She wanted so much to tell the truth, to tell how Vanessa treated her when he wasn't there. But her stepmother's threats echoed in her mind. "It's nothing," she finally replied. "I'm just tired." Nathan frowned, worried. Are you sure you know you can tell me anything, right? I know, Daddy. He kissed her forehead. Tomorrow will be a better day, I promise. Good night, Daddy, Lily whispered, hugging him tightly. Good night, my flower. Nathan smiled, tucking the covers around her. I love you. I love you too. When the door closed, Lily lay back looking at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the house. Her father and Vanessa talking downstairs, the distant hum of the television, then the gradual quiet as the night progressed. In the middle of the night, she woke to an odd sound. Someone was in her room. She opened her eyes, frightened, and saw a silhouette by the window. Daddy, she called, drowsy. The silhouette moved closer. It wasn't her father. The next morning, the alarm rang at 6. Nathan stretched, still tired from the long day before. He took a quick shower, dressed, and headed downstairs for coffee. Vanessa was already in the kitchen reading the newspaper. Good morning, he kissed the top of her head. Good morning, darling. She smiled, handing him a cup of coffee. Another busy day. Not as busy as yesterday, I hope. Nathan looked around. Lily hasn't come down yet? I haven't seen her. She must be sleeping. I'll wake her. I want to apologize for not having lunch with her yesterday. Nathan went upstairs, feeling guilty for breaking his promise. He knocked gently on his daughter's bedroom door. Lily, time to wake up, my flower. No answer. He knocked again, a bit more forcefully. Silence. Puzzled, he opened the door slowly. Morning light filled the empty room. The bed was unmade, the blanket dropped on the floor. The pink tape recorder, which Lily never let go of, lay discarded in a corner. Lily, Nathan called, his heart racing. He checked the bathroom, empty, the closet empty. A wave of panic swelled in his chest. He ran downstairs. Vanessa, Lily isn't in her room. Vanessa looked up from her newspaper, calm. Maybe she came downstairs earlier. I didn't see her. Nathan began searching the house, opening doors, calling out Lily's name in every room. Nothing. Panic turned to despair when he went out into the garden and still didn't find her. He went back inside, where Vanessa now stood in the foyer watching him. She's nowhere to be found. Nathan's voice trembled. Vanessa, she's gone missing. Calm down, dear. Maybe she's playing hide and seek. Lily, Nathan shouted, running back up to the second floor. Lily, this isn't funny. Come out now. Nothing. Only the echo of his own desperate voice. When he returned downstairs, Vanessa was on the phone. I'm calling the police, she explained, her voice too controlled for the situation. The next hour was a blur. Police officers arrived, asked questions, searched the house. Nathan repeated the same story. He had put Lily to bed around 9, everything was normal, and in the morning she simply wasn't there. Any signs of forced entry? One of the officers asked. No, sir, replied another after checking all the doors and windows. Mr. Collier, do you have enemies? Anyone who might want to harm you? Nathan shook his head, stunned. No, not that I know of. Has the girl ever run away before? Never. Lily would never run away. His voice broke. Vanessa placed a hand on his shoulder. My husband is in shock, officer. Lily is a quiet child, never caused any trouble. The officer wrote something on his notepad. We'll issue an alert. We need a recent photo of the girl and a description of what she was wearing the last time she was seen. The search extended throughout the day. Neighbors were questioned, nearby areas scoured. Nothing. It was as if Lily had simply vanished into thin air. Later that night, as Nathan finally drifted into fitful sleep, Vanessa gathered all the staff in the kitchen. Given what's happened, we can't trust anyone anymore, she declared coldly. You're all fired. You will receive generous compensation, but I want everyone out of this house by tomorrow. The housekeeper, who had worked for the Colliers for years, widened her eyes. But, ma'am, Mr. Collier will need help during this difficult time. I will take care of my husband, Vanessa replied, her eyes as hard as stone. And I suggest you leave quietly. Anyone who talks to the press or spreads rumors about what happened here will face severe legal consequences. The days that followed were a nightmare for Nathan. The police set up a temporary command post in the living room with maps, photos, and timelines. Volunteers offered to help search, combing woods, parks, and nearby areas. Nathan followed every operation, refusing to rest. You need to sleep a little, Vanessa insisted. You won't help Lily if you faint from exhaustion. But sleep didn't come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lily's face, her frightened eyes, her outstretched hand begging for help. How could he rest while his daughter remained missing? A week passed, then 2. The police began to scale back their search. The case remained open, they said, but without new leads there was little they could do. "This can't be happening," Nathan murmured, staring out the window of his study as the last police car drove away. "How can a child just disappear without a trace?" Vanessa stood in the doorway watching him. "We'll keep looking. I've hired a private investigator." Nathan nodded, too exhausted to speak. He could no longer cry. It was as if something inside him had dried up, leaving only a painful void where life had once been. Days began to blur together, with no distinction between mornings, afternoons, and nights. Nathan barely ate, losing weight rapidly. His once perfectly tailored clothes now hung loosely on his frame. Deep circles marked his face, and his eyes had lost their sparkle. "I need to work from home," he told his partners over the phone. "I can't be too far away. What if she returns and I'm not here?" His company, once his top priority, now seemed insignificant. What did it matter to make money, close deals, when his daughter was missing? A month after the disappearance, the first private investigator gave up. "I'm sorry, Mr. Collier. We followed every possible lead." Nathan hired another, and then another. He offered ever-increasing rewards for any information. He plastered posters all over the city, gas stations, supermarkets, schools. Lily's room remained untouched, just as it had been on the day she disappeared. Nathan spent hours there, sitting on her small bed, holding the teddy bear she loved so much. "I will find you," he whispered. "I promise, my flower." Vanessa rarely went in there. "It's not healthy to stay in that room all the time," she said, trying to persuade him to have dinner, take a shower, do anything other than wallow in memories. "You would never understand," he replied, drifting further from his wife with each day. 2 months later, the press lost interest. Other cases, other tragedies took over the headlines. The phone, which had once rung constantly with reporters seeking statements, now remained silent. Autumn arrived, painting the trees in the garden red and gold. Lily had loved jumping into piles of dry leaves. Nathan found himself staring out the window, waiting to see her running between the trees again. "I have to do something," he murmured one rare night when he joined Vanessa for dinner. "I can't just wait." "You are doing everything you can," Vanessa replied, pouring him a glass of wine. "The police are still searching. The investigators too." It's not enough." Nathan began spending his nights driving around the city, stopping at dark parks, hospitals, homeless shelters. He showed Lily's photo to anyone he encountered: addicts, sex workers, on-duty officers. No one had seen her. Sometimes he felt he was losing his mind. He saw Lily in every blonde child, heard her voice in the wind, dreamed of her calling for help. 3 months passed. Winter brought snow and a cold that seemed to come from within. Nathan now worked only a few hours each week, the bare minimum to keep the business running. "The shareholders are worried," one of his partners commented over the phone. "We understand your situation, but..." "But what?" Nathan snapped. "My daughter disappeared. You want me to worry about profits?" He slammed the phone down, feeling an irrational anger rising inside him. How could the world keep spinning? How could people go about their lives normally while Lily was missing? His relationship with Vanessa deteriorated by the day. They barely spoke, sharing the house like strangers. Nathan noticed how she avoided mentioning Lily, how she subtly tried to remove photos of his daughter from the walls, how she insisted he move on. "How can I move on?" he yelled in a particularly heated argument. "She is my daughter." "And you think yelling at me will bring her back?" Vanessa replied coldly. "Look at you, Nathan, you're destroying yourself." It was true. He barely recognized himself in the mirror. The strong, confident man he had been was now a shadow, with hollow, empty eyes, unkempt hair, and a scraggly beard. 4 months, 5, 6. The world carried on, merciless. Seasons changed, and Nathan sank deeper into his own darkness. Maybe we should see a psychiatrist," Vanessa suggested one morning as Nathan stared at his untouched coffee, "to help deal with the grief." "I'm not grieving," he replied through gritted teeth. "Grief is for when someone dies. Lily is not dead." "Nathan," Vanessa hesitated. "It's been 6 months, no leads, no traces. Maybe it's time to consider that." "No," the word came out in a growl. "Don't finish that sentence." He stood up abruptly, knocking over a chair, and left the kitchen. In his study, He locked the door and sank into his armchair, clutching Lily's photo on his desk. His little princess, his ray of sunshine, how could he give up on her? But at night, alone in the dark, dark thoughts assailed him. What if Vanessa was right? What if Lily never came back? Honest, he couldn't think like that. He had to keep searching, would continue until his last breath if necessary. The 7th month brought more disappointments. The last private investigator, a man respected with decades of experience, handed over his final report. "I'm sorry, Mr. Collier, we did all we could." Nathan shelved the report without reading it. He didn't need another document telling him what he already knew. No one could find Lily. The garden, once meticulously cared for, was now neglected. Nathan had no energy to maintain it. The flowers died, the grass grew wild. It was as if the house itself were mourning. One day he found Vanessa in front of Lily's room with a new lock in her hand. "What are you doing?" he asked, feeling a cold rage rise in his chest. "You spend too much time in there," she replied without apology. "It's not healthy." "It's my daughter's room." "Nathan, we need to talk about the future, about moving on." He ignored her, entering the room and closing the door. He leaned back against it and slid down to the floor, finally letting the tears fall. How could he move on without Lily? How continue living in this void? The phone rang downstairs. He heard Vanessa answer, then her footsteps climbing the stairs. "It was the police," she said through the door. "They want to talk to you tomorrow." They found something. A pause. They didn't say. Nathan felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Why would the police want to talk to him after all this time? Had they found... No, he couldn't think that. That night he didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at Lily's photo on his bedside table, trying to brace himself for whatever news might come. But how does one prepare to hear that their daughter will never come home? The house fell into a silence so deep and painful, it seemed to swallow everything. Nathan, once a man of action, now lived on autopilot. The only thing that kept his heart beating was the faint hope that maybe, someday, Lily would return home. 7 years, 2,555 days since Lily disappeared. Nathan Collier looked out from his office window, watching the fine rain fall over the abandoned garden. Autumn had returned, painting the leaves red and gold before ripping them from the branches, leaving the trees bare and exposed to the cold wind. How he felt, bare, exposed, empty. 7 years had turned the Collier mansion into an elegant, cold shell. The hallways, once alive with children's laughter, now echoed only with Vanessa's distant footsteps or his own dragging steps. The walls, though covered in expensive artwork, Vanessa's specialty, seemed devoid of life, as though the house itself were in mourning. The marriage he once believed to be a new beginning had become a silent formality. He and Vanessa rarely spoke beyond necessities. They dined in silence when they were home at the same time, which was becoming less and less frequent. They slept back to back when Nathan managed to sleep at all. The few times they touched was like fulfilling a contract, no spark of love. Vanessa Blake Collier, as she insisted on being called at social events, now traveled constantly to art fairs and gallery exhibitions around the world. Her career had flourished while Nathan's heart withered. His companies had somehow survived. After the first year of near-total absence, Nathan returned to work, not out of passion, but out of necessity to occupy his mind. He became a methodical, efficient man, completely devoid of the ambition and enthusiasm that once defined him. His employees respected him, but also feared him a little. The gentle man he had once been was replaced by a colder version, with eyes that seemed to see right through people. "I'll be in New York for the next 3 days." Vanessa's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She stood in the doorway of his office, already dressed to leave, a small suitcase beside her. She was flawless as always, perfectly styled black hair, designer clothes, discreet but effective makeup. At 42, she was still an impressive woman. "There's an important vernissage at the gallery." Nathan only nodded, not turning to face her fully. "Have a good trip." There was a moment of hesitation, as if Vanessa expected more. Maybe a kiss or at least direct eye contact. When nothing came, she simply adjusted her purse strap. "I'll be back Sunday night." "Okay." Without another word, Vanessa left. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the empty house, followed by the soft hum of her luxury car driving away down the gravel path. Alone, Nathan exhaled air he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Vanessa's trips had become more frequent over the past years. Business, she said. He didn't question. There was nothing left between them worth arguing over. Part of him suspected she had lovers, perhaps younger men or eccentric artists who made her feel alive again. He didn't care. His gaze drifted to the only photo of Lily he kept in the office, hidden in a drawer not out of shame, but to protect it from Vanessa's subtle disdain. In the picture, Lily beamed at 4, golden curls framing an angelic face so much like Rachel's. 7 years, he murmured to himself. You'd be 11 now. He rose slowly, his joints protesting as if he were much older than his 45 years. He walked down the second-floor hallway, his footsteps echoing on the marble floors, until he stopped before a door that had been locked for years. Lily's room. After the first anniversary of her disappearance, Vanessa had convinced Nathan to lock the room. We can't live in a mausoleum, she argued, with that blend of firmness and fake compassion he now recognized so well. You need to move on. We need to move on. He'd given in, not because he agreed, but because he had no strength left to fight. The key sat in his drawer, untouched for 6 years. On some particularly difficult nights, he would hold it between his fingers, contemplating the possibility of entering, but always putting it back, as if stepping into that room meant admitting Lily would never return. Something about that grey morning compelled him to take the key. Maybe it was the emptiness of the house, free from Vanessa's controlling presence. Maybe it was the weight of 7 years, a number that seemed to demand some milestone, some change. Or maybe it was simply time. The key turned in the lock with a click that seemed to echo through the entire house. The door opened slowly with a low creak from hinges long unused, revealing a room frozen in time. The light filtering through the dusty window illuminated a space untouched since that fateful morning. The bed was still unmade, as if Lily had just left it. Toys scattered on the floor, a doll here, colorful, blocks there. Drawings taped to the walls with yellowed tape. Tiny clothes folded neatly in half-open drawers, as if waiting to be worn. The air was still, heavy with dust and memories. Nathan stepped inside hesitantly, as if treading into a sanctuary or a tomb. He sat on the edge of the small bed, running his hand over the blanket. If he closed his eyes, he could almost feel the warmth that had once been there. He could almost hear Lily's laughter, her cheerful cry of "Daddy" at bedtime story time. But the room was silent, dead. His eyes scanned the room, noting every detail. The children's books on the shelf, arranged by sizes Lily liked. The brown teddy bear she called Mr. Cuddle, now faded and lying next to the pillow. The colored pencils organized in a tin decorated with star and flower stickers. A life interrupted, preserved like an insect trapped in amber. Then he saw it, half hidden under the bed, a small pink object. For a moment he couldn't identify it. He reached to pick it up, and his heart stopped when he recognized the tape recorder Rachel had given Lily just before she died. "You can record our stories," Rachel had said, already weak from the illness that was consuming her. "That way you'll always have my voice with you." Lily had loved that tape recorder. She recorded everything. Made-up stories, conversations with her dolls, songs she learned at preschool. Nathan remembered how she carried it everywhere, like a precious treasure. The fact that it had been left behind the day she disappeared always puzzled him. Lily would never voluntarily leave it behind. Nathan held the device as though it were made of crystal. It felt surprisingly heavy in his hands, laden with meaning and possibility. Would it still work after all this time? The batteries must have leaked, damaging the mechanism. Even so, with a trembling finger, he pressed the play button. To his surprise, the device crackled, followed by static. And then, miraculously, a voice. Rachel's voice, faint but determined. "Once upon a time, there was a very brave princess who lived in a magical kingdom full of flowers and music." Nathan felt tears burn in his eyes. His first wife's voice, Lily's mother, preserved in that small device, so distant now, like an echo of another life. A life that seemed to belong to someone else, not to the hollow man he had become. The recording continued, a children's story narrated by Rachel. A princess who fought dragons, saved the kingdom, found magical treasures. When that ended, there was more static, and then another recording began. "Hi, tape recorder," Lily's voice, small, hesitant, secretive. Very different from the cheerful, chatty child Nathan knew. "Today, Vanessa locked me in my room again." Nathan held his breath, frozen in place. "She is different when Daddy isn't here. She said she would take me away, that I would never see my father again." A stifled sob, and then, "I am scared of her, Mommy. She doesn't like me, not at all." The recording ended abruptly. Nathan remained motionless, clutching the tape recorder so tightly his fingers turned white. The world around him seemed to slow to a standstill. Every heartbeat sounded like thunder in his ears. Each breath was painful, as if the air had turned to shards of glass. "Vanessa is different when Daddy isn't here. She said she would take me away." Lily's words echoed in his mind, shattering the fragile peace he had built over the years. A corroding acid of guilt flooded his chest, burning everything in its path. She had tried to warn him. His little girl, so helpless, had tried to tell him something was wrong, and he hadn't listened. He had preferred the comfortable lie that it was just a phase, just difficulty adapting. "My God, Lily," he whispered, voice choked by the horror of the revelation. "What have I done?" The small clues, now so obvious, Lily's frightened looks, the way she cowered when Vanessa entered the room, how she had grown increasingly quiet after the wedding, the mornings when she looked exhausted, the whispered comments he had dismissed as childish imagination. "Daddy, Vanessa doesn't like me." And he, so obsessed with his new love, his new chance at happiness, had ignored the warnings. He had left his own daughter vulnerable. Nathan collapsed, sliding from the bed to the floor, tears streaming down his face. Violent sobs shook his body, years of repressed pain exploding all at once. "Forgive me," he cried, clutching the pink tape recorder to his chest. "Forgive me, my daughter." Guilt consumed him like a raging fire. If he had listened, if he had paid attention, if he had put Lily first, she would still be here. 7 lost years. 7 years his daughter could have grown up safe and loved, stolen by his own blindness. How long he stayed there, broken on the dusty floor, Nathan could not say. Minutes or hours passed as he confronted the devastating truth. He had failed Lily in the most fundamental way possible. He had failed to protect her. When there were finally no more tears to shed, when the sobs turned into ragged gasps, something beyond guilt began to rise deep within him. A cold, relentless resolution, a determination he hadn't felt in 7 years. If Vanessa had done something to Lily, if his daughter was still alive somewhere, he would find her. No matter how long it took, how many resources he needed, how many laws he had to bend, he would correct his mistake. Pain gave way to determination. Nathan rose, tucking the tape recorder into his pocket. He wouldn't confront Vanessa immediately. No, he needed to be smarter than that. He needed proof, answers. And if she discovered he knew, she could destroy any chance of finding Lily. 2 days later, when Vanessa returned from New York, Nathan was waiting in the living room. The pink tape recorder lay on the coffee table between them. He had thought carefully about how to approach this. He needed to see her reaction, to confirm his suspicions. "What's this?" Vanessa asked, frowning as she saw the object. She was tanned and relaxed after her trip, a stark contrast to Nathan's pallor and tension. "Lily's tape recorder," Nathan replied, keeping his voice calm despite the storm inside him. "I found it in her room." "You went into that room?" The irritation was evident in Vanessa's tone. A flash of something else, alarm, crossed her face before she quickly masked it. "I thought we agreed to keep that door locked. I needed to see, to hold her things again." Vanessa sighed, setting her designer purse on the armchair. "Nathan, we've talked about this. It's not healthy to live in the past." Without answering, Nathan pressed play. Lily's voice filled the room. "Vanessa is different when Daddy isn't here. She said she was going to take me away, that I would never see my father again." He watched Vanessa's face closely as the recording played. To anyone less observant, she might have seemed merely annoyed, but Nathan saw it, her slight freeze, the barely perceptible dilation of her pupils. The way her hands, normally so graceful, clenched into fists for a fraction of a second before relaxing. "She had an active imagination, you know that," Vanessa finally said, her voice controlled, almost bored. "Children make things up, especially when they're jealous." Nathan studied every micro-expression on his wife's face, the gentle arch of her eyebrow, the tension around her mouth. the way her fingers pressed discreetly against the expensive silk of her blouse. "Jealous?" he repeated slowly. "Is that what you think it was? What else could it be?" Vanessa shrugged as she walked to the bar to pour herself a drink. Her movements were studiedly casual. "Lily was traumatized by her mother's death. I was the intruder. It's natural she would create fantasies about me. And about you taking her away." Nathan kept his eyes fixed on her. "About her never seeing me again. Exactly the kind of drama a child would create." Vanessa took a sip of whiskey, her tone dismissive. "You're not really going to give credit to a child's recording after 7 years, are you?" There was something in her tone, a calculated certainty, subtle disdain, that confirmed everything Nathan suspected. He knew Vanessa well enough by now to recognize when she was lying. And she was lying. "No," he replied calmly, picking up the tape recorder. "I just wanted you to know what I found." Vanessa seemed to relax slightly, but her eyes stayed alert, calculating. "We need to move on, Nathan. 7 years have passed." "You are right," he agreed, standing up. "I'm going to take a shower. Was your trip productive?" "Very. We sold 3 significant pieces." As he climbed the stairs, he felt Vanessa's gaze burning into his back. She knew he knew. This was a chess game now, and Nathan needed to be extremely careful. The next day, he began his discreet investigation. In his office, he opened the file he had maintained on Lily's disappearance. Police documents, detective reports, lists of people interviewed, boxes upon boxes of information that had led nowhere. One name caught his attention: Donna Martinez, the housekeeper who had worked for them for years since before Lily was born. Vanessa had fired her along with all the other staff on the night Lily disappeared. "We can't trust anyone anymore," she had said, with that firmness that brooked no question. Nathan vaguely remembered Donna, a middle-aged Hispanic woman, kind and efficient, black hair always tied in a bun, hard-working hands, and an easy smile. Lily adored her, always asking Donna to tell stories or bake cookies for her. "Donna makes the best cookies in the world," Lily used to say. If anyone could have noticed something strange, it would have been Donna. She was in the house every day. She saw the dynamic between Lily and Vanessa when Nathan wasn't around. Finding her wouldn't be easy. 7 years was enough time for her to move, change her name, maybe even leave the country. The police reports indicated she had been interviewed briefly after Lily's disappearance, but nothing substantial was recorded. But he had resources, money, connections, and now motivation renewed by the crushing weight of guilt and a desperate need for redemption. That afternoon, he called a private investigator different from the ones he had hired before. Someone not connected to the original search for Lily, someone Vanessa didn't know. "I need you to find someone," he explained, giving the details he had on Donna. "It's important this is discreet, extremely discreet." "I understand, Mr. Collier. I'll start right away." In the days that followed, Nathan and Vanessa continued their careful dance around each other. He pretended nothing had changed. She pretended to believe him. Silent dinners, superficial conversations about business, art, the weather, nights spent on opposite sides of the king-size bed that felt like an ocean between them. That night, when he was certain Vanessa was asleep, Nathan took the tape recorder out of its hiding place and listened to Lily's voice again. Each word was a blade to his heart, a reminder of his failure, but also fuel for his search. "I'm scared of her, Mommy. She doesn't like me." How had he not noticed? How could he have been so blind? A week later, the detective called. "I found Donna Martinez, Mr. Collier. She's living in a small apartment on the east side of town. She works as a cook in a local restaurant." "Oh, does she live alone?" "Yes, sir. Seems to have a modest life. Never married, no children." Nathan felt something stir in his chest. Not exactly hope, but perhaps its precursor, a possibility. "I need her address. And don't mention this to anyone, especially not my wife." "Of course, Mr. Collier, I'll be discreet." That night, while Vanessa worked in her office reviewing contracts for her gallery, Nathan studied the address on a scrap of paper. Tomorrow, he would look for Donna. Tomorrow, he might begin to fix the terrible mistake he had made. He placed the pink tape recorder and Donna's address into a hidden safe in his office. If Vanessa even suspected what he was doing, everything could be lost. Guilt still weighed on his shoulders like a lead cloak. But now there was also a purpose, a path. If Lily was still alive somewhere, if there was the slightest chance of finding her, he would not rest until he did. It was the least he could do after having failed her so terribly. The building where Donna Martinez lived was old, with peeling paint and an elevator Nathan preferred not to risk. He climbed the 3 flights of stairs, his heart racing with each step. He did not know what to expect from this meeting, but after 7 years seeking answers, any crumb of truth felt like a feast. He stopped at apartment 3B, placed the pink tape recorder in his jacket pocket, and took a deep breath. Then he knocked. 3 soft taps. Hesitant footsteps sounded on the other side. The door opened just a crack, revealing a dark, wary eye that widened when it recognized him. "Mr. Collier?" Donna's voice was almost a whisper of disbelief. "Hello, Donna," Nathan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "May I come in? We need to talk." The door opened wider. Donna was older than he remembered, her hair now more grey than black, deeper wrinkles around her eyes. She still wore her hair in a tight bun, but her hands, once strong and capable, seemed more fragile. "What are you doing here?" she asked, clearly nervous, glancing at the empty hallway behind him. "How did you find me?" "It wasn't easy," Nathan admitted, "but I need your help, Donna. It's about Lily." At the mention of Lily's name, something flickered in the former housekeeper's eyes. A flash of pain, perhaps guilt. She hesitated for a few seconds, then opened the door fully. "Come in," she said in a low voice. "Quickly." The apartment was small but clean and orderly. A combined living room and kitchen, some plants on the windowsills, simple, worn furniture. No luxuries, just what was necessary to live. "Have a seat," Donna indicated an old worn sofa. "Would you like some coffee?" "No, thank you." An awkward silence fell between them. Donna stood, her hands nervously twisting the fabric of her skirt. "You must be wondering why I came after all this time," Nathan began. "I always knew you'd come one day," she replied, surprising him. "I just didn't know when." Nathan pulled the tape recorder from his pocket and placed it on the coffee table. Donna's eyes fixed on the pink object, instantly recognizing it. "I found this in Lily's room," he explained, "and heard something that changed everything." Without another word, he pressed play. Lily's childish voice filled the small room. "Vanessa is different when Daddy isn't here. She said she was going to take me away, that I would never see my father again." Donna went pale. Her hands visibly trembled. When the recording ended, she stepped away to the window, turning her back to Nathan. "If you know something, I need to hear it," he pleaded, his voice thick with emotion. "Please, Donna, it's been 7 years without answers, 7 years without my daughter." Donna's shoulders trembled slightly. Was she crying or simply battling deep-seated fear? "May I have a glass of water?" she finally asked without turning around. Nathan rose and went to the tiny kitchen. He found a clean glass, filled it with tap water and returned to the living room. Donna had taken a seat on a wooden chair, her hands now clasped tightly in her lap, as though trying to steady her trembling. "Thank you," she murmured, taking a small sip. Then, eyes fixed on the glass, she began to speak. "It was the middle of the night. I had woken up to get a drink of water." Her voice was low, almost a whisper, as if she still feared being overheard. "I saw Vanessa leaving through the back door, carrying Lily in her arms." The girl seemed asleep. Nathan felt his heart stop. One thing was suspecting, another entirely different was hearing confirmation. "I froze," Donna continued, "but she saw me. She stopped, looked me in the eyes." She swallowed hard, gripping the glass tightly, and she said, "If you say one word, I will ruin your life. No one will believe you. You're just a servant." A sob escaped Donna's lips. "The rest of the story you already know." "Continue," Nathan urged, voice husky. "I need to know everything." When she came back hours later, it was almost morning. She acted as though nothing had happened. Donna looked directly into Nathan's eyes for the first time. "When you discovered Lily was gone, she feigned surprise, called the police, played the worried mother. And that night," Nathan started, remembering. "Yes, then she fired everyone, as if to protect the house. But it was to erase evidence, and I stayed silent, out of fear." Silent tears rolled down Donna's wrinkled face. "After that, my life became a struggle. I never had peace again." She set the glass on the table, her hands still shaking. I tried to start over, find another job, but she kept her promise. Somehow, whenever I got something good, I lost it right away. Bad references I never gave, rumors, strange accidents. I knew it was her, but I couldn't prove it. Nathan closed his eyes, deeply shaken. The puzzle pieces finally fitting together, revealing a picture of calculated evil he could barely comprehend. "Why now?" Donna asked softly. "Why after all this time?" "The tape recorder," he replied simply. Lily's voice showed me what I should have seen from the start. A heavy silence fell between them. Outside, the city carried on its frantic pace, oblivious to the drama unfolding in that small apartment. "Do you know where she took Lily?" Nathan finally asked, hope and fear warring in his heart. Donna shook her head. "No, I only saw her leaving with the girl. I never knew where they went." Nathan took Donna's hand in his, feeling the calluses from years of hard work, the fragility of bones under thin skin. "You kept the truth. Now it's my turn to do what's right." "What will you do?" she asked, fear still visible in her eyes. "First, I'll make sure you're safe." He squeezed her hand gently. "And then I'll find my daughter, no matter the cost." Through the window, the sun began to set, painting the sky red and gold, just as it had 7 years ago when his life was shattered. But now, at last, he had a starting point. He had the truth, and with it a chance at redemption. Nathan drove back home with his knuckles white around the steering wheel, holding on so tightly he could feel his grip. The sky darkened rapidly, heavy clouds promising a storm. Appropriate, he thought, a storm to clear the air, to wash away 7 years of lies. Donna's revelation rang in his mind like a funeral bell. Vanessa had taken Lily. His own wife had destroyed his life, stolen his daughter, and then remained by his side, watching his suffering with cold, calculating eyes. How long had she planned this? From the beginning of their marriage, from their first meeting? Was it all an elaborate charade for what? Money? Power? The question tormented him. But deep down, none of that mattered. No reason could justify what she had done. The mansion emerged before him, imposing against the darkening sky. Lights were on, indicating Vanessa was home. Nathan parked and sat for a few minutes, taking a deep breath, organizing his thoughts. He needed to stay calm. He needed to do this right. The pink tape recorder felt like a stone in his pocket. Proof. The truth hidden for so long. When he finally entered, he found Vanessa in the living room reviewing some documents. She looked up, her expression neutral as ever. "You're late," she commented, returning her attention to the papers. "There's food in the fridge if you're hungry." Nathan stood in the doorway watching her. The woman with whom he had spent 7 years of his life. The woman who had slept by his side as he silently cried for his lost daughter. The woman who had betrayed him in the cruelest way imaginable. "I found Donna Martinez today," he finally said, his voice oddly calm. There was an almost imperceptible pause in Vanessa's movements. Just a second of hesitation before she continued flipping through her document. "Donna? The former housekeeper?" Her tone was disinterested, but her eyes didn't leave the paper. What could she want after all this time? "She didn't seek me out, I found her." Vanessa now looked up, her dark eyes studying Nathan's face. "And why would you do that?" In response, Nathan placed the tape recorder on the coffee table. Vanessa stared at it for a long moment, her face a mask of indifference. "We've discussed this," she said, her voice slightly irritated. "It's just a child's imagination." "It's not about the tape recorder," replied Nathan. "It's about what Donna told me about the night Lily disappeared." The heavy silence filled the room. Outside, the first raindrops began to pelt the windows, soft at first, then more intense. "And what exactly did she tell you?" Vanessa finally asked, setting her documents aside and crossing her legs in a deliberately casual gesture. "The truth." The word hung between them like a verdict. "She saw you, Vanessa. She saw you leaving through the back door with Lily in your arms." A flash of lightning lit up the room briefly, followed by the rumble of thunder. The storm had arrived. For a moment, Nathan thought Vanessa would deny it, invent another lie, another story. But something had changed. It was as if a mask had fallen, revealing her true face. A cold smile curved her lips. "It took you long enough, didn't it? 7 years, I thought you'd never find out." The admission, so casual, so devoid of remorse, hit Nathan like a physical blow. Even knowing the truth, hearing her confession from her own lips was devastating. "You took my daughter from me," he said, the words coming out in a hoarse whisper. Vanessa rose and walked to the bar to pour herself a drink. Her movements were fluid, elegant as always, as if they were merely discussing a dinner menu, not the destruction of a family. "She was a burden," she replied simply, serving herself whiskey. "Always in the way, always wanting your attention, always reminding you of that woman." "Rachel," Nathan said, her name like a prayer. "Doesn't matter." Vanessa shrugged, taking a sip of her drink. "I gave her to someone who wanted her better that way." "Better for whom?" Nathan's voice rose slightly, the anger finally breaking through his forced calm. "For you?" "For everyone." She stared at him directly without a trace of guilt in her eyes. "You moved on, went back to work, we built a life." "A life built on lies." Nathan felt nauseous thinking of every moment they had shared since Lily's disappearance. Every birthday, every Christmas, every night he had spent beside the woman who had destroyed his family. An empty life. It didn't have to be empty. You chose to drown in self-pity. Vanessa drained her glass in one gulp. "We could have been happy." The rain now fell heavily, tapping on the roof like thousands of impatient fingers. Nathan took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm within him. The rage, the pain, the hatred, all threatened to consume him. "Dwight, where is she?" he asked, each word heavy with 7 years of anguish. "Where is my daughter?" "It doesn't matter anymore." Vanessa returned her empty glass to the bar. "She has another family, another life. You're just a distant memory, if that." The words cut deeply, but Nathan refused to show how much they hurt. Instead, he straightened his shoulders and looked directly into the eyes of the woman he had once believed he loved. "Pack your things," he said, his voice low but firm. "Get out of my house." Vanessa stared at him for a long moment, as if gauging whether he was bluffing. When she realized he wasn't, a flash of fury crossed her gaze, quickly replaced by her usual cold mask. "You will regret this," she said, setting the glass down precisely. "I could destroy you, Nathan, your business, your reputation." "I don't care." And it was true, nothing else mattered except finding Lily. "Now get out." Without another word, Vanessa left the room. Nathan remained still, listening to her footsteps ascending the stairs, drawers opening, the muffled sound of clothes being tossed into suitcases. 30 minutes later, she descended with 2 large suitcases. She paused briefly in front of him, her face a mask of perfect indifference. For a moment it seemed she would say something, one last strike, perhaps one last lie, but she simply crossed the room, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The front door clicked shut, and then silence. Nathan stood in the empty living room, listening to the rain and thunder. Strangely, he felt neither triumph nor relief, only a calm determination. It was only the beginning. He would find Lily, no matter how long it took. The silence that now filled the house was no longer suffocating or oppressive. For the first time in 7 years, it was liberating. A silence full of possibilities, of hope. Outside, the storm began to subside. 3 weeks had passed since Vanessa left the Collier mansion. 3 weeks of intense investigation, during which Nathan had not rested for a single moment. With Donna's help, who finally felt safe enough to speak, and a team of private investigators, he began to follow the trail Vanessa had left 7 years ago. He discovered that on the night of the disappearance, she had driven south to a small coastal town about 200 miles away. A witness remembered seeing an elegant woman with a sleeping child at a roadside rest stop. "She looked exhausted," the attendant recalled. "The girl was in a deep sleep. I thought they were mother and daughter." From there, the trail grew cold. Nathan uncovered records of substantial payments from one of Vanessa's secret bank accounts to a couple, the Harmons. Thomas and Alice Harmon lived in a rural area near that coastal town. Initially, the payments were monthly, then they became annual. The last payment had been made only 6 months ago. That spring morning, Nathan drove slowly along a dirt road, his heart pounding as if it would burst from his chest. The Harmon's address was written on a scrap of paper in the passenger seat, but he had memorized it. The landscape was bucolic, green fields, a few cows grazing lazily, wildflowers dotting the roadside. A peaceful place, far from the hustle of the city. A good place to hide someone, Nathan thought bitterly. When he finally spotted the mailbox labeled Harmon, he slowed even more. The house stood about 100 feet from the road, a simple two-story white building with a broad front yard and what looked like a small orchard in the back. Nathan parked his car a bit before the driveway and turned off the engine. He needed a moment to compose himself. What if he was wrong? What if Lily wasn't there? Or worse, what if she was there but didn't recognize him, didn't want him? 7 years was a long time. She had been only 4 when she disappeared. Now she was an 11-year-old preteen. How much of the girl he hoped to find still remained? With trembling hands, he took out the small portrait he always carried, the last photo taken of Lily before she disappeared. Her radiant smile, bright eyes, golden curls. Would he be able to recognize her? He breathed deeply, slipped the photo into his jacket pocket, close to his heart, and stepped out of the car. The air was cool, carrying the scent of flowers and damp earth. He walked slowly toward the house, trying to plan what he would say. How would he explain his presence? How would he approach the situation without frightening anyone? And then he saw her. In the side yard, partially hidden by a large oak tree, a girl played alone. She had her back turned, kneeling on the grass, seemingly absorbed in some private game. Her hair was long and golden like mature wheat, tied in a loose braid that fell down her back. Nathan froze. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't move. It was as if time had stopped, as if the entire world had ceased spinning. The girl must have sensed his presence because she suddenly turned her head. For a moment, her eyes, blue as Rachel's, widened in surprise. She rose slowly, leaving her toy in the grass. "Daddy?" The word escaped her lips as a whisper, barely audible from where he stood. Nathan felt his legs give out. It was her, his Lily. Older, taller, but unmistakably his daughter. The same blue eyes, the same face shape, the same little freckles across her nose. "Lily," he managed to say, his voice choked with emotion. There was a moment of complete stillness, as if both feared any movement might shatter the spell, make the other vanish. Then, like a dam bursting, Lily let out a joyous cry and ran toward him. "Daddy, is it really you, Daddy?" Nathan knelt, opening his arms just as she leapt into them. The impact nearly knocked him over, but he caught himself, embracing his daughter with a strength that belied his fragility. She was real, solid and warm in his arms, her small heart pounding frantically against his chest. "I thought you forgot me," Lily sobbed, her thin arms tightening around his neck. "I waited so long, so long." "Never," Nathan replied, tears streaming down his face. "I never stopped looking for you, not for a single day, my flower." Lily stepped back slightly to look at his face, as if she needed to be certain it was really him. Her small hands brushed his cheeks, wiping away his tears. "I knew you would come," she said with a conviction that broke Nathan's heart. "I always knew." "Lily, So much to say, so many questions, so many apologies." "I told you Vanessa didn't like me," Lily interrupted, her eyes suddenly serious. "Do you believe me now?" The innocence of the question, the absence of blame, made Nathan feel as though his heart was being crushed. "Yes, my flower, I believe you, and I'm so sorry I didn't believe you before." Lily smiled, that radiant smile he remembered so well, and threw her arms around his neck again. Nathan held her, marveling at the miracle of having his daughter back. It was then he noticed they were not alone. A man and a woman had stepped out of the house and were watching from a distance. He rose, still holding Lily's hand, and faced the couple he assumed were Thomas and Alice Harmon. The man was tall and broad-shouldered, with grey hair and a cautious expression. The woman, shorter, had a gentle face framed by brown hair streaked with silver. Both appeared to be in their 50s. "Mr. Collier," the man said, stepping forward. It was not a question. "Mr. Harmon," Nathan replied, keeping his voice steady. "Mrs. Harmon, I believe we have much to discuss." Alice Harmon looked at Lily, who still clung to Nathan's hand. Concern flickered in her eyes, but there was also a kind of resignation, as though she had always expected this moment. "Better come inside," she finally said. "Lily, darling, why don't you show your father your room while we prepare some coffee?" "Yes." Lily eagerly pulled Nathan by the hand. "Come, Daddy, I have so much to show you." As he followed his daughter into the house, Nathan felt as though he were stepping into a parallel world, a life Lily had built without him, a life he had no part in until now. The house was simple but cozy. Well-kept wooden furniture, floral curtains, framed photos on the walls. Photos of Lily, Nathan noticed with a tightening in his chest. Lily on her first day of school. Lily blowing out birthday candles on a cake. Lily hugging a dog. Moments he should have witnessed, moments stolen from him. Lily's room was on the second floor. A cheerful space painted light blue with a bed covered in a colorful quilt, shelves filled with books and toys, and a desk stacked with school notebooks. "I've always wanted a blue room," she explained, watching him anxiously. "Aunt Alice let me choose the color." "It's lovely," Nathan replied, fighting the pain that came with thinking he should have painted a room for her, let her pick the colors, created a space just for her. "Look!" Lily ran to the bed and pulled something from under the pillow. It was Mr. Cuddle, the teddy bear Nathan had given her when she turned 3. It was more worn, a bit faded, but unmistakably the same bear. "I brought him with me. Vanessa didn't want me to take him, but I hid him." Nathan felt a lump in his throat. "You remembered me then?" "Of course I did." Lily seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "You're my father. I never forgot your face or your voice or the stories you told at bedtime." She hesitated, suddenly seeming younger than 11. "Did you remember me?" Nathan knelt down again, bringing himself to her eye level. "Every day, Lily, every single minute of every day, you never left my heart." She smiled, that radiant smile he remembered so well, and threw her arms around his neck again. Nathan hugged her, amazed at the miracle of having his daughter back. When they finally went back downstairs, Thomas and Alice Harmon were waiting in the living room. There was coffee and cookies on the table, as though this were a normal social visit, not a moment that would change everyone's lives forever. "Lily," Alice said gently, "why don't you go to the kitchen and get that orange juice you like so much?" The girl looked from Alice to Nathan, reluctant to leave his side even for a moment. "It's okay, my flower," he assured her. "I'm not going anywhere without you." As Lily left, a heavy silence fell over the room. "We always knew this day would come," Thomas finally said. "We always knew." "You knew who she was?" Nathan asked, trying to keep his anger in check. "You knew she had been taken from me?" Alice lowered her eyes. "Not at first. Vanessa told us she was an orphaned child who needed a temporary home. She offered a substantial sum for us to care for her." "We were teachers," Thomas continued. "We always wanted children but never could have our own. When we saw Lily," he shook his head, "she captured our hearts immediately." "When did you realize the truth?" Alice sighed deeply. "Gradually. Lily spoke of you, of her father who loved her, of Vanessa taking her away that night." "Why didn't you give her back?" Nathan's question came out harsher than he intended, but he couldn't help it. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "We were scared," Thomas admitted, shame evident on his face. "Vanessa threatened us. She said she would accuse us of kidnapping, that we were accomplices. And then," he looked at the kitchen door, where Lily had disappeared. "Then we grew attached to her. Maybe selfishly, but we began to think of her as our own. We never stopped feeling guilty," Alice added, tears shining in her eyes. "But we tried to give her the best home possible. Education, love, stability." Nathan wanted to hate them. He wanted to blame them for all the lost years, but seeing genuine pain on their faces, the photos of Lily throughout the house, the little details showing how much they cared for her, he couldn't. "You took care of her," he said finally, "when I could not." Alice nodded, wiping a tear away. "She's an extraordinary girl, smart, kind, strong. You would be very proud of her." "I am," Nathan replied, his throat tight. "And I am grateful you took care of her, but now she needs to be with her father," Thomas finished. "We always knew this day would come." Lily returned at that moment, carefully carrying a glass of juice. She looked at the adults, sensing the tension in the air. "Is everything okay?" she asked, stepping close to Nathan. "Yes, my flower," he assured her, putting an arm around her shoulders. "We were just talking about the future." Lily looked at Thomas and Alice, then at Nathan. "Can I go home now?" she asked directly. "With my dad?" Alice swallowed a sob. Thomas placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "If that's what you want, dear," he said. "I want to go home with you, Daddy," Lily said, looking up at Nathan with her blue eyes so like Rachel's. There was an unwavering certainty in her voice that moved Nathan deeply. "Then let's go," he replied simply. The goodbyes were difficult. Despite everything, it was clear the Harmons loved Lily and she loved them. Promises were made to visit, phone numbers exchanged. Lily ran to hug them one last time before getting into the car, her small suitcase and Mr. Cuddle clutched tightly in her arms. As they drove down the dirt road, Nathan looked in the rearview mirror. Thomas and Alice stood at the entrance of the house, hand in hand, watching the car until it disappeared around the bend. "They were good to me," Lily said softly, as if reading his thoughts. "But I always knew it was only temporary. I always knew you would come for me." Nathan reached out and held her hand. "I'm sorry it took me so long, Lily." She squeezed his hand. "It doesn't matter, we're together now." Looking at his daughter, at the profile that combined childhood features with the early signs of approaching adolescence, Nathan felt a wave of love so intense it nearly took his breath away. 7 lost years, yes, but many more ahead. "You will like the house," he said. "The garden is a bit overgrown, but we can replant it together." Lily smiled, that smile he had feared he would never see again. "I would like that. I've always loved gardens." As they drove toward the future, the afternoon sun illuminated the road ahead. The journey would be long. There would be much to rebuild, much to heal. But with Lily by his side, Nathan finally felt like he was going home. The transition was not easy. After the emotional reunion in the Harmons' garden, after the silent drive back home, reality set in. Complex, challenging, sometimes painful. Lily needed to adjust to a new school, make new friends, get used to a house that should have been familiar. But time had made it almost a stranger. Nathan also needed to learn how to be a father again, not to a 4-year-old child, but to an 11-year-old preteen with her own opinions, formed preferences and memories, some sweet, others painful, of a life from which he had been absent. There were nights of nightmares when Lily woke screaming, remembering the moment Vanessa had taken her from home. There were silent days when words seemed inadequate to express all they felt. There were moments of frustration, tears, doubts. "Why didn't you believe me?" Lily asked one night when Nathan found her sitting on the windowsill, staring at the dark garden. The question came without warning, like an arrow hitting exactly the wound Nathan most feared touching. "I failed you," he replied simply, sitting down beside her. "And there is no excuse for that." Lily looked at him for a long moment, her blue eyes so like Rachel's, assessing his sincerity. Then, surprisingly, she leaned her head on his shoulder. "It's okay, Daddy," she murmured. "You found me in the end, that's what matters." But there were also laughs, long tight hugs, stories shared at bedtime, small victories celebrated as major accomplishments, a trust that grew every day, like the flowers Lily had started planting in the once neglected garden. "Aunt Alice taught me about gardening," Lily explained as she carefully dug a hole for a rose seedling. "She said taking care of plants is like taking care of the soul. You need patience and attention." 3 months after their reunion, when the deepest wounds began to heal, Nathan decided it was time to close another chapter, to give back to those who deserved it, to honor the truth that, after all, had brought them together. "I have a surprise," he announced one Sunday morning, as they had breakfast on the porch overlooking the garden. Lily was radiant that morning, wearing a light blue dress that matched her eyes, her golden hair in 2 braids. "What surprise?" she asked, her eyes shining with curiosity. It was one of the things Nathan loved most about her, how, despite everything she had been through, she could still marvel at life's small joys. "We're going to visit someone special today." Nathan smiled, tucking a loose braid behind her ear. "Someone who helped us find each other again." Lily tilted her head thoughtfully. "Donna, the lady who worked here when I was little?" Nathan nodded, not surprised she remembered. Lily had an impressive memory, especially for people who had been kind to her. "Yes, Donna, she was very brave, you know. Without her, I might never have discovered the truth." Lily grew serious for a moment. "She was nice to me. She baked chocolate cookies when I was sad." A gentle smile spread across her lips. "And she told me stories in Spanish, even though I didn't understand everything." An hour later, they were in the car, driving to the lower middle-class neighborhood where Donna still lived. Nathan carried an envelope in his inner jacket pocket, not the one with Lily's photo, but one equally important. "Does she still live in the same place?" Lily asked, watching the streets become gradually more run down as they moved away from the upscale neighborhoods. Yes, Nathan replied, feeling a pang of guilt. Life hasn't been easy for her since what happened? Because of Vanessa? Lily's insight sometimes caught him off guard. Yes, Vanessa threatened her, made it hard for her to find work, rebuild her life. The building looked even more dilapidated in daylight. Chipping paint, cracked concrete, an overall sense of neglect. Nathan held Lily's hand firmly as they climbed the stairs to the third floor. It's here, he said. Stopping in front of apartment 3B, he knocked softly. A few seconds later, the door opened to reveal Donna. She looked a bit better than when Nathan last saw her. She had gained some weight and her hair was freshly cut. Her eyes widened when she saw Nathan, then dropped to the girl at his side. My God, she whispered, one hand covering her mouth. Is it really Lily? Hi, Donna, Lily said shyly, a small smile on her lips. Do you still make those chocolate cookies? Donna let out a sound that was part laugh, part sob. Tears began streaming down her wrinkled face. Yes, my darling, she replied, her voice quivering with emotion. I still do, and I would bake 1,000,000 just to see your smile again. She extended her arms hesitantly, as if she feared Lily might be a mirage that would vanish if touched. But Lily did not hesitate. She moved forward and hugged her former nanny tightly, burying her face in Donna's shoulder. I missed you, Lily murmured. Oh, Dios mío, Donna sobbed, hugging her as if she never wanted to let go. I missed you too, my little angel, every single day. Nathan watched the scene, feeling a lump in his throat. It was another cycle closing, another link restored in the chain of relationships Vanessa had tried to destroy. When they finally went inside the apartment, Donna moved with an energy she had not shown during Nathan's previous visit. She prepared coffee for the adults and hot chocolate for Lily. She brought cookies that, she confessed with a shy smile, she had baked as soon as she received Nathan's call about the visit. I couldn't believe it, she said, finally sitting down after serving everyone. When you called saying you found me, I thought I was dreaming. Thanks to you, Donna, Nathan responded sincerely. If you hadn't told me what you saw that night, maybe we would never have been reunited. Donna wiped away a tear. I should have spoken up earlier, much earlier. I was a coward. You were scared, Nathan corrected gently. Vanessa was, she's a dangerous woman. You had every reason to be afraid. Where is she now? Donna asked, concern evident in her voice. We don't know, Nathan replied. She left town soon after I confronted her. The police are searching for her. There are serious charges against her now. She won't hurt anyone else, he assured, noting the fear in Donna's eyes. Lily, who had been listening quietly while nibbling on a cookie, spoke up suddenly. She couldn't keep us apart forever. That's what matters. Donna smiled at her, gently touching her hand. So wise always was. Even when you were little, you had an old soul. Do you remember me when I was little? Lily asked, leaning forward with interest. What was I like? Donna laughed softly. Oh, you were a curious little thing. Always asking questions, always wanting to know how everything worked. And stubborn. Dios mío, so stubborn. Once you decided you wanted to wear rain boots in the middle of summer, and no one could convince you otherwise. Lily laughed, delighted. I'm still a bit stubborn. A bit? Nathan raised an eyebrow teasingly. Only when I'm right, Lily responded with a cheeky grin. The three of them laughed, and for a moment, it was as if the years of separation had never existed, as though they were merely continuing a conversation that had been temporarily interrupted, not resuming lives violently torn apart. Nathan cleared his throat, feeling it was the right moment. He took the envelope from his pocket and placed it on the table. I brought something for you, Donna. She looked at the envelope, confused. For me? Open it, he encouraged. With trembling hands, Donna opened the envelope and pulled the documents out. Her eyes scanned the first page, widening in shock. This is... A deed to a house, Nathan confirmed. In the south side of the city. It's a quiet neighborhood with good schools nearby. I thought maybe you'd like to teach private lessons again. Donna shook her head, unbelieving. Mr. Collier, I can't accept this. There's also a trust fund, he continued, pointing to the second document. It's not a fortune, but it's enough so you never have to worry about bills or working jobs you don't want. Why? Donna asked, tears streaming down her face. Why would you do this for me? Nathan covered her hand with his. You kept the truth, now it's your turn to start over. Lily stood and walked to Donna, hugging her shoulders. You helped me when I was little, she said gently. Now we want to help you too. Donna hugged Lily back, openly sobbing now. Thank you, she murmured through tears. Gracias, gracias. It was as if an invisible weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Years of fear, guilt, regret, all washed away by tears of relief and gratitude. When can we visit your new house? Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Can I help decorate? Donna laughed through her tears. Of course, mi querida, you have good taste. Actually, Nathan said, I thought we could go see the house today if you'd like, of course. Donna's eyes lit up. Today, really? Why not? The house is already furnished, it just needs your personal touch. Lily clapped her hands, thrilled. Can we go now, please, Donna? I don't even know what to take. Donna looked around at the small apartment with its few possessions. Don't worry about that right now, Nathan reassured her. We can send a team to help with the move later. Today is just to see the place. An hour later, they stood before a two-story house in a tree-lined neighborhood. It wasn't luxurious like the Collier mansion, but it was spacious, well-kept, with a small front yard and a backyard. The kind of home Donna had probably never dreamed of owning. It's perfect, she whispered as Nathan handed her the keys. Come on, let's take a look. Lily ran to the door, barely containing her excitement. The house was airy and bright, with large windows letting sunlight flood in. There was a comfortable living room, a modern kitchen, 3 bedrooms upstairs, more space than Donna had ever had. This room could be your office, Lily suggested, exploring. To teach lessons, and this one could be a guest room for when I come to visit. Donna looked at her in surprise. You would come visit me? Of course. Lily seemed bewildered by the question. Your family? Those 2 simple words, your family, filled Donna's eyes with tears again. She hugged Lily, then extended her arms to include Nathan in the embrace. Thank you, she murmured, for giving me a second chance. You deserve it, Nathan replied sincerely. More than that. As Donna and Lily explored the rest of the house, Nathan lingered in the living room watching them. Lily's laughter echoed through the walls, mingling with Donna's exclamations of surprise and joy. It was a sound that warmed his heart, reminding him that life truly could start anew, even after the worst tragedies. When they finally returned to the Collier mansion, night had fallen. Lily had fallen asleep in the back seat of the car, exhausted from the exciting day. Nathan carried her up to her room, not the room frozen in time, but a new space they had decorated together, with walls painted in the blue she always wanted. After tucking her in and kissing her forehead, Nathan went down to his office and poured himself a drink. Through the window he could see the garden that, 3 months earlier, had been just abandoned earth and now began to bloom under Lily's dedicated care. The pink tape recorder sat on a shelf, no longer hidden but displayed as a reminder, not of the tragedy but of the truth that had reunited them. Nathan touched it gently, grateful for that small object that had changed everything. The following days passed with a sense of normalcy that felt almost miraculous given all they had been through. Lily continued adjusting to school, making friends, reconnecting with the life that had been stolen from her. Nathan reorganized his work schedule to be more present, determined not to lose another moment. Donna moved into her new home, and as Lily had predicted, she seemed lighter, even younger. She truly began teaching Spanish lessons again, discovering a vocation that had been interrupted years ago. On Sundays, she often joined Nathan and Lily for dinner, bringing her famous chocolate cookies and stories from her childhood. Slowly, a new routine took hold, a new normal that acknowledged the past but was not defined by it. One particularly sunny afternoon, Nathan was in his office finalizing some documents when he heard Lily's call from the garden. "Daddy, Daddy, come see my flower." Nathan smiled, putting down his pen. It was Lily's voice, no longer muffled by walls of silence and secrets, but clear, vibrant, full of life. "I'm coming," he answered, rising and walking to the glass door leading to the garden. There she was, kneeling in the freshly turned soil, surrounded by gardening tools and plant pots. Her golden hair shone in the sunlight, her cheeks flushed from exertion and excitement. When she saw him, she opened into a radiant smile, pointing to a small blue flower that had just bloomed. "Look, Daddy, isn't it beautiful? It's a forget-me-not. Donna told me the name. It means don't forget me. Nathan knelt beside her, admiring the delicate blue flower. It's perfect, my flower, just like you. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder, a gesture so natural, so full of trust, that it tightened Nathan's heart with emotion. I'm happy to be home, she said softly. So am I, Lily, he replied, kissing the top of her head. More than you can imagine. They stood there side by side as the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky golden and pink. In the garden, the newly planted flowers swayed gently in the breeze. From the open house, the low strains of music drifted. Lily had rediscovered the old sound system and made a habit of playing music throughout the home. The sound had returned to the Collier mansion, and with it, life. Not the same life as before, that was lost forever, but a new life, built on the foundations of the old, enriched by the lessons learned, the challenges overcome, the love that had survived 7 years of separation. As he watched Lily continue her work in the garden, humming along with the distant music, Nathan felt a peace he hadn't experienced since before the tragedy. The future would still bring challenges. There was Vanessa's trial to face when she was found. There was the emotional healing process that had only just begun. There were all the complexities of raising a preteen alone. But for the first time in 7 years, Nathan did not fear the future, because now finally the house was truly a home again, and the garden, just like their hearts, had begun to bloom once more. I'm coming, my flower, he responded as Lily called him to see another bud about to open. I'm here, always here. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like, because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.